What's up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Ashley. For those who are new here, hello and welcome. I am coming here today to let you guys know how my pregnancy has been going. So I am currently at 39 weeks. So at this point I can go at any time. So where do we want to begin? I have some notes here in front of me because I know that it's been a lot going on since the last time that I've seen you guys. I want to say the last update was in maybe my second trimester still. So since then, obviously we are in my third because I'm at the ass end of everything. And so, like I said, I just want to let you guys know what's been going on, what's been new. I kind of felt weird last time because there really wasn't a whole lot for me to update because there wasn't a whole lot going on. Like, it was just like normal stuff. Maybe normal to me because I've had 2 kids already. But anyways, like I said, I'm 37 weeks currently. Well, no, I'm sorry. I am currently 39 weeks. So we are just basically on, you know, when you gonna come, sis? I am having a girl. If you haven't been here before, I'm having a girl. That is something that we wanted to find out. And as far as just like, you know, our plan and what we've been doing and everything, so I have been under the care of both an OBGYN and a midwife. With COVID and everything like that, we weren't 100% sure in the beginning what we wanted to do, but I always had in the back of my mind that I wanted to do a home birth, which is why we went with both. And since COVID is still going on and I just don't feel comfortable even dealing with hospitals if I don't have to, home birth is what we, so far, our birth plan. So let's speed up to date to now. I worked all the way up until my 37th week of pregnancy. I'm a hairstylist, so excuse me. I worked on my feet the entire time. Not many complications, well, no complications at all, no medical complications. Just some physical like aches and pains, which again is completely normal for any pregnant woman, but somebody especially that's working on their feet, like bending over, some back pain, some hip and pelvis pain. And then towards the end of my working situation, I made it all the way up until my 9th month before I got any kind of swelling feet or anything. And like literally the day that I hit 9 months, my feet began to swell, my hands became more like tight, swelling, and I also experienced some nausea. Now, I'm not sure if that was mostly due to like my hormones, but like I feel like the mucus and saliva in my mouth got really thick, especially like when I first woke up in the morning, and that kind of made me like gag a little bit. So I ended up having a little bit of morning sickness there for a little bit, but so far like I've been taking some steps in the morning to make sure that I don't have that, because listen, I hate throwing up. Like with my last pregnancies, well, with my very last pregnancy, which was over 10 years ago, I threw up the entire pregnancy. I had morning sickness the whole time. So with this pregnancy being that I had none the whole time, I was so happy. I was in a state of bliss. Shit was lit. And I was just, you know, I was just very grateful because I'm like, man, like how did I make it all the way into a 3rd pregnancy, completely unplanned, you know, not even really planning on having any more kids. But this pregnancy has honestly been like the easiest out of the 3. So yeah, so that happened. But other than that, like my energy levels were really normal. Everything like that was great. Some things that I did to kind of help with the aches and pains and, you know, the symptoms and everything, as far as the nausea was concerned, I made sure that I always had water on my bedside. That way I can like kind of rinse my mouth out and brush my teeth immediately, and then like use mouthwash. That really seemed to help. Blowing my nose, because I guess like, you know, that that nasal drip kind of caused things to like sit in the back of my throat too. So just blowing my nose, that helped. And then also, as far as like heartburn is concerned, that's like a normal pregnancy symptom, which is why I'm not like highlighting it like crazy, even though like it gets really, really tough at the end of the pregnancy because like there's not a lot of space for your food to digest. So it just feels like everything is just like sitting right here and it's awful. But I use these guys. Usually I get the Tums brand, but it's the Alka-Seltzer Extra Strength Heartburn Relief Chews. These guys tend to work. As you can see, I've breezed through a bottle down to my last 3. But those things really help as well as taking some calcium magnesium in the evening. That seemed to help a lot. And then of course like baths are really good just to help alleviate body pain. Recently with, you know, the thunder crotch, my god, you guys. Okay, so hold it. I have never in any of my pregnancies experienced the thunder crotch symptom, which is like where your pelvis literally feels like it's like being torn apart. It burns. it hurts to get up. It hurts to sit down. It hurts to stand for too long. It hurts to sit for too long. Never ever experienced that before. But I will say that sitting on an exercise ball, that tend to help. And then also, let me back you guys up a little bit so I can stand up. Using one of these like belly slings really helped a lot to just keep her up a little bit, because like that's really why you're getting like all of that pressure right there is just from, you know, all of that weight being, it's really from all of that weight just sitting on your pelvis of the baby or whatever. So that has been like something that's brand new for me, and I will say it is extremely painful, and it has been like something like really try to work through, especially with the holidays and stuff. Like I love doing things with my kids. I love cooking and all of that. So it was a little bit more difficult this year to do that because number one, I'm 9 months pregnant, but then dealing with some thunder crotch, it was really hard. So I just made sure that I gave myself frequent breaks. I still was able to do everything that I normally would do, so I was very appreciative of that. But ooh, baby, that hurt. Let's see what else has been going on. So I'll speak on our birth plan. So like I said, we have been seeing a midwife, and at this point in my pregnancy, I'm no longer seeing my OBGYN, and I'm gonna tell you why. And let me get comfortable, because a few things turned me off. My goal from the beginning, whether I gave birth in a hospital or at home, was always to do a completely natural birth, to allow this baby to come when she is ready, to allow my body to do what it needs to do naturally without many interventions, etc. And I was very clear with this objective at the beginning of my pregnancy with my OBGYN in the case that we didn't feel comfortable doing a home birth. Like, you know, I was very clear in communication with her. Throughout my pregnancy, everything has been perfect. Like all of my levels on point, been taking all my vitamins, you know, blood work on point. Baby is doing great. She is perfect. All of this stuff. So there's like zero reason to try to rush her out, to run any sort of intervention to, you know, assist in this birth process. And so my very last appointment that I had with her, I decided that I wasn't going back. It was my, I believe it was my 37th week update, or my 37th week appointment. And when I went in, I knew that we were going to be doing a final like ultrasound to see possibly like, you know, a range of how big baby is, right? Which is completely normal. You know, this is what they do. They like to run an estimate so they can see what they're catching, is what she said. Those are her words. And automatically I knew that it's usually some BS, like as far as how big the baby actually comes out, because with both of my pregnancies, well, with my last one, I won't say my first one because I didn't get to that point in my pregnancy yet because I had her early. It was completely off. Like, you know, they were projecting her to be like 8 pounds, 5 ounces or something like that. And so when I had her, I actually, with my last pregnancy, I got induced, which was something that I just agreed with my doctor. I was full term. I was on my due date was when I got induced. So I went a full 40 weeks with, you know, nothing, no action before then. So like, you know, honestly, she probably would have went over or past her due date. But with my delivery, she did not feel like she was ready to come out. And like, I remember crying on the bed, like in great guilt that I was trying to force her out, right? And sometimes I get like, you know, a little choked up behind it, because I was like, how selfish are we to like, you know, try to force her out? But the point I'm trying to make with, you know, the whole weight thing is she came out and she was like 7 pounds 4 ounces, or 7'7". No, yeah, she came out 7'7", which to me, I'm like, that's not a huge baby. That's like, it's not a small baby, but it's an average size baby. And I just thought it was kind of weird that it was like a whole pound difference, right? So fast forward to now, when they ran the anatomy scan again with that last appointment, again, they were like, oh, she's weighing kind of heavy, or she's measuring heavy right now. And I'm like, well, what is heavy? So she's like, oh, like 7 pounds 12 ounces. And I'm like, okay. And again, in my mind, I'm having like, you know, my previous experience, number one. And then also like going back to my previous experience, I was much smaller then. I think my pre-pregnancy weight back then was like 135. My pre-pregnancy weight now was 180. So automatically I'm having a bigger baby. In my mind, I'm like, my baby's going to be bigger than 7 pounds, which to me, in my mind, makes complete sense, because, you know, your body's only going to make or create what it can handle. This is just common sense. So when the lady that did the ultrasound said that, I was like, huh. I'm like, okay. I'm like, I feel like this is the setup. So they do all of that. I get back to the room to see my actual OBGYN, and she's like, oh, everything's looking good, everything's feeling good, like, how are you feeling? I'm like, I feel great, like, you know, whatever. Like, I've had no issues. Like I said, like, everything has been fine, just, you know, normal pelvic, hip pain, whatever, stuff that I expect to happen. I feel is completely normal, not any reason to like run intervention. And so she takes a look at, you know, what they scanned for the day with the ultrasound, and she's like, this baby is going to be pretty big. And I'm just looking at her like, well, I don't know. I don't think that that's big. And, you know, I think it makes sense for, you know, my weight and, you know, what I know that I can handle. And she's just like, okay, well, you know, since she's weighing in at this now, you know, let's definitely keep in mind anything that we can do to help get this baby out. And automatically I caught an attitude because I'm like, this is not what the plan was. And so then she starts speaking like, you know, you can start bouncing on it like an exercise ball to start really opening up your cervix. And you can, if, you know, the next time I see you, we can look into doing a membrane sweep. And I'm like, what? And like immediately I felt taken back because I'm like, why are we talking about this and I'm not even full term? This baby is not like humongous to the point, like I know people that are way smaller than me that have had like 9 and 10 pound babies and natural came out just fine, no problem. Like why are we talking about this? And like, even though like I had in the back of my mind, I knew that she wasn't going to be delivering my baby because by now we knew that we were going to be going through with the home water birth and all of that jazz. But the fact that she was like really pushing that, I'm like, I didn't need that sort of negativity in my life because I'm like, I have a goal in mind and this is my birth to have. This is not for her to tell me or recommend to me at this point, given that there is no reason, no medical reason to need to get this baby out. So automatically I'm like, yeah, I'm done there. At this point, I'm like, I got all my scans, I got all my tests and everything, because one thing with my midwives, they can't do all the testing. So it's been helpful that I've been doing both. And luckily, my insurance covers the OBGYN and we actually paid out of pocket for the midwife. But it's worked out perfectly because like I said, I could get all of my scans, my blood work, any testing. I have a negative, is it negative or positive blood type? I don't know. I needed to get the Rogaine shot. So like, you know, all of that stuff I was able to get provided from my OBGYN, even though I knew that I was going this other route. So, but at this point, at this stage in the game, I'm like, my head needs to be clear from any stress, from any frustrations. I feel like I'm like hunched down, from all of that, because I'm like, I'm mentally preparing myself for a natural birth and I don't need somebody in my ear saying like already trying to run any sort of intervention. So I was like, you know what, I'm done. You know, you know, whatever. And my husband, he was concerned because like, of course he wants to make sure that everything is going to be safe. So he's like, hit up your midwives, see what they say before you just quit her. And I was like, all right, but I'm like, I'm telling you, I'm like, mentally I need to just be in a good space. So I don't know. So I ended up hitting up my midwives and she affirmed everything that I was saying. And she was like, you know, get your results, because at that point I had to take my group B strep test. So she's like, get your results for that. And then after that, I mean, honestly, you would just be going in there for her to constantly be wanting to do cervical checks, which by the way, you can reject. You can go past those. You don't have to get your cervix checked if you don't want to. I did get my cervix checked at that last appointment, and at that point she was saying like I was a centimeter dilated, and that's something that I felt was some BS too, if I'm being honest. Like I feel like she was kind of forcefully like, you know, trying to get something going, so I felt a more urgent feel to, I don't know, it could have been nothing, but in my mind it was something, and it was enough for me to not want to go back. So I haven't gone back since then. So it's only been a couple of weeks, but I feel really good that I made that decision for myself to stop going, because I am trying to get my mind right for my home birth and actually moving on to, you know, my next point. I have been preparing myself by really being intentional with the people that I have around me, number one, because I feel like there has been in our society in America, there's been such a negative connotation when it comes to home birth or birth in general, and they make it seem like it's an emergency situation, and it's not. It is something that our bodies are created to do, and I understand that not everybody is on this level when it comes to giving birth. Like, not everybody is going to choose and decide to do a home birth, but I hate that nobody has the confidence to trust our bodies. And so recently I've just been trying to do a lot of unlearning as far as just trusting myself, trusting my body, trusting my decisions that I've made for myself. During this pregnancy specifically, I feel like I've learned a lot about myself, and then I've learned a lot about consent. And I feel like hospitals don't give mothers enough consent as far as having autonomy over their bodies and being able to control certain things that are completely unnecessary during the birthing process, as far as medications are concerned, as far as like what happens as soon as baby comes out. Like, most of the time they swoop your baby up, they hurry up and wash her down, they weigh her, they measure, they do all of these things before they even give you your child, unless you speak up and say, hey, I want my baby immediately. Like, the fact that you have to ask for that, and that's also something that they charge for, I think is crazy. And it's taken me to get to my third birthing experience to like know these things, because I was a lot younger having children. It wasn't in my consciousness, but now that it is, it's like, damn, like that's really messed up. So I've been like, you know, just trying to clear my mind of like, you know, the negative parts of birth, the negative things that people say about birth, and just how hospitals have chosen to like, you know, go about things, their processes of birth versus the natural, the more natural way of giving birth. So the ways I'm doing that is, like I said, being very careful about who I have around me. I don't tell everybody that I'm having a home birth. If they ask like, oh, what hospital are you having, then, you know, I'll share. But other than that, I haven't shared with a lot of people, because people do have a very negative view about birth, and that's not something that I constantly need to hear right now. And also I've been taking a online, I guess it's like a course. It's the Positive Birth Company. They have like a digital pack where they go through like, you know, some hypnobirthing tools for you to use during your natural home birth, or even in the hospital you can use these same tools. And it's been extremely helpful. It's been helpful for me. It's been affirming a lot of things that I've already felt about having a natural birth. Like, just naturally, like I felt like these things were supposed to happen. But then it's also helped my husband and eased his mind. The camera cuts off after 20 something minutes. That's good to know. This is a new camera. Anywho, so like I was saying, it's helping my husband ease his mind. So something about him, he is a first responder. He is a firefighter, EMT. So he sees things in the worst case scenarios. And so it took, I won't say convincing, because obviously like I just made the decision, but it took him some wrapping his brain around the idea of a home birth. And it took him hearing firsthand accounts from friends, people that he trusts, and, you know, everything like that, for him to really feel comfortable with the idea. And now he's on board, which, thank God. But I will say that the Positive Birth Company specifically has helped him in regards to curating the energy in the house, because he sees things in emergency situations. He's all about running intervention. Like, that is his job. That is what he's good at. He's a troubleshooter. That's what he does. Because of that, like, he has a lot of times he's like thinking, well, what happens what if this goes this way, and what are we gonna do if like, it's a whole lot of like what ifs, and that can be very negative. That can be very taxing on me mentally, because it's going to be in the back of my head, even though like it's not at the forefront. Like, it's, well, shit, like this is happening, like, and then I go into like this downward spiral of negativity, and I don't need that. And I definitely don't need him to feel worried, because I'm going to feel his worry, because, you know, that's my partner, that's my best friend. I feel what he feels. So I'm glad that he's finally gotten to the point where you know, he feels comfortable, and he's understanding the mindset that I need to be in, so he needs to match that energy. And I feel like the Positive Health or Positive Birth Company has helped him out tremendously with that. I spoke on a lot of the negativity already, just like from the OBGYN perspective, and then also like somewhat of society's perspective. But like, all in all, like, anything that is not productive for me to deal with, like, I'm not taking a lot of calls at this point. When I did go on my maternity leave, I made sure to tell my clients, hey, if you absolutely need to talk to me, then the best way to contact me is via email, because I know that I'm not going to be contacting people through text or even phone calls right now. And luckily everybody has been very, very respectful of that so far. I've maybe gotten like some of my closer clients / friends, people that become friends obviously, like in my industry, have contacted me just to see how I'm doing, or, you know, see if I need anything, which I appreciate those calls. But what I didn't need was the calls of, you had this baby yet? When you coming back? I don't need to hear that. So I have been making sure to like just curate the vibe. Ooh, excuse me. So speaking of curating the vibe, being that I am having a home birth, the space that we will be birthing in, where we plan to birth anyways, where the pool will be, I have to set it up. So if that is something that you guys want to see, because this video is getting very long, I will maybe do a separate video more specifically geared towards home birthing. I wish you all health, wealth, and prosperity. If you are also pregnant, good luck on your journey. I hope that you are staying positive and uplifted, whether you are doing a home birth, whether you are birthing in a hospital. I just pray that you are healthy, both mentally and physically, because these are some rough times to be pregnant. So I wish you well on this journey. And again, I will see you guys on the next one. Hopefully you leave plenty of questions down there for me. Again, so if you guys want to see some belly shots, I guess we can do that.